Welcome back to another Reddit episode. We're back to Tales from the Pharmacy. My last video was r/Florida man. Well, guess what got copy stricken? Ha! Can't do that one anymore. Patient asked about expired meds. Today, I had a customer asking how long she can keep expired meds and still use them. We're trained to tell people not to use an expired med because the manufacturer can't guarantee the drug after the expiration date. Or something along those lines. And that's what I said. But she was fishing for another answer. I know you're supposed to say that, but you should know some meds can be used outside of the expiration date. Blah, 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 blah. And then I repeated the previous response. We can't advise using expired meds. And this went back and forth like a broken record until she got fed up of me just saying the same thing and slams her bottle on the counter and left. I hate it when people ask the same thing 1,000 times thinking my answer will change. Why does it seem like I'm babysitting adults sometimes? Well, there is that often misquoted quote, the definition of an insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But what kills me about this one is that even the customer knows, hey, I know you're supposed to say you're not supposed to use the meds, but really, how long can I use the meds for? So the customer is basically saying, I know what answer you're going to give me before I ask the question, but I'm going to ask the question anyway and expect you to say something different. Even though I already just said, I know what you're going to say, but really, what are you going to say? I think technically how they determine expiration dates is that when the medication becomes, I think it's 10% less effective, then that's when the FDA considers that the expiration date. But you're not going to get the same accurate dose. And a pharmacy telling you, yeah, go ahead and take the medication, they're just setting themselves up for a lawsuit later on when by chance it's like, oh, well, you had a heart attack because you weren't taking your blood pressure medication like you should have been at the right strength. And then they come back and say, well, my pharmacy told me I could, so I'm going to sue the pharmacy. So yeah, that's exactly what we're supposed to tell people. Don't use them because we know what's going to happen if you do use them and something bad happens. So you're going to just come back and say, well, time to sue the pharmacy. Shell-shocked. You ever, coming from the perspective of a tech, get so stressed out you just feel shell-shocked after your shift? It was a night to remember. Only one tech at pickup, one pharmacist, and one tech at drop-off to also print and count besides type. Phones were off the damn hooks. People taking advantage of the busy, chaotic atmosphere to even get more pushy and aggressive. Lines on hold like crazy. Everyone seemed to have this detailed problem that required some serious troubleshooting on the phones. Plus, there was a huge line at the pickup line and non-stop people at the drop-off demanding shorter wait times. At one point, the pharmacist made a scene because I guess the woman who was on hold for too long blew a gasket once she got a hold of the pharmacist. The pharmacist yelled out, "I'm not helping her, she's yelling at me." I had to smooth things over by telling the pharmacist not to worry about it and to prioritize her orders and patients because she was literally making a scene everyone could witness. And, of course, I had a nasty, impatient, overly entitled people, like the one lady who wanted us to fill her C2 within 5 minutes and was offended we put it back on the shelf after 1 month. She was the biggest entitled moron I have dealt with to date. Just a total callous person who had no concept of being in the shoes of a working, blue-collar person. Anyways, my point is, I was literally shell-shocked after work. My mind just drifted into the abyss. Driving home, all my mind process was, stop at the red, slow down at the yellow, go on green. I had the 1,000-mile stare for most of the night. It's like you need prescription drugs to sell prescription drugs. Life is good. The bad thing about retail pharmacy, well, okay, the one thing, you're right. Okay, one of the many things that's wrong with retail pharmacy is that a lot of pharmacists aren't former techs. A lot of them just come straight out of school, and that's their only time that they've ever had to deal with a pharmacy or being in a pharmacy was as a pharmacist. And a lot of people treat pharmacists a lot different than they do techs. Like, I've had the nastiest people turn into angels when they get a hold of the pharmacist. It's like, it's just a total 180. So yes, unless a pharmacist has been a tech before, they have no idea the stuff that they go through. And just to have this one pharmacist pick up the phone and have a lady be nasty at her, and then have her just kind of melt down and be like, I'm not helping her if she's going to be nasty with me. It's like, you don't know how many times a week I've had people do that to me, and I've had to smile, nod my head, and be like, okay, yeah, let me help you out here, even though that you're calling me out a name. Oh, the one thing that I've always had pharmacists tell me, working in pharmacy for as long as I did, the 7 years I worked in there, was, Chris, you need to smile more. And I'm like, why? You have no idea the people I have to deal with. And I know if they complain, you're not going to have my back. So I'm going to get screwed no matter how anytime I deal with any situation, I know what's going to happen. Customer's going to complain. You're going to apologize profusely to the customer, give the customer a gift card, and tell me, hey, Chris, this customer complained about you. You're going to hear my side and not believe me. 100% of the time, that's always what happened. So yeah, my doctor actually prescribed me Klonopin, just to help with the stress of dealing with working in a pharmacy. The best part is when they transfer to the pharmacy where the wait time is consistently 2+ hours, we don't tell them that. I'm picking up a script that my doctor just sent over. We got the fax 2.5 minutes ago. We need 15 minutes to fill it. I left the office 20 minutes ago. I saw them send it. You're lying to me. I need it now. Faxes can take up to a half an hour depending on how they send it. I'm transferring this somewhere else. So yeah, that meme is highly accurate. Like seriously, how many times have we all had it where we have a customer come up and be like, hey, I'm here to pick up my meds. It's like, I haven't even received the prescription yet. Well, I just left my doctor's office. They said that they'd send it right over. We're like, oh. Well, how long does it take for it to get over? It's like, well, we don't even know when they sent it or even if they've sent it yet. Anyway, this meme actually brings up a really good story that I have about a time when, okay, so it was after 5 o'clock, whatever. People are getting off work. It's starting to get busy. Had this lady come up and try to pick up a prescription. And we're like, we haven't received anything. And she said, well, my doctor's office said that they'd send it right over. I just left my doctor's office 20 minutes ago. It's like, well, haven't seen anything. Give us like 15 more minutes. Maybe it'll show up. She waits. And then she checks in with us again. We're like, nope, sorry. She calls her doctor's office. And her doctor's office is telling her over the phone, well, we'll send it over again. Well, maybe they'll get it this time. And then she waits another 15 minutes. And we haven't received anything. And this time, now this woman's furious. Normally we would have said, hey, let us call the doctor's office. We'll see if we can get a hold of it. But it's after 5. We're starting to get busy. It's like, it's too bad. So sad. But anyway, she calls her doctor's office again. And she's on hold with the doctor's office. She checks her text messages. And she gets an alert from another pharmacy saying that her prescription's ready. So while she is back online with the doctor's office, when they finally answer, she starts yelling at him, telling him, you sent it to the wrong pharmacy. So this whole time, this lady's sitting there getting after us for not being able to receive her prescription, when in all actuality, her doctor's office was sending it to the wrong pharmacy. So yeah, that was a good time when you had a little bit of validation, like, hey, we're not the ones screwing up here. Sometimes it's your doctor's office. I know that we work at Walmart, but doesn't mean that we're not professionals. Serial prednisone addicts exist, apparently? Wow, finally something spicy to report. Backstory. I'll call this patient Mr. Steroid, Mr. S for short. He was hospitalized a few weeks ago for a suspected GI bleed. Emergency did a very thorough job with his history and finds that he was popping prednisone for his eczema, of all things. For those of you unfamiliar with prednisone, prednisone is a steroid that I saw typically used for people with breathing problems. Prednisone helps open up the airways in the lungs, makes it so that's easier for people to breathe. I've also seen people use it for injuries, like if they have like a broken foot or something like that. I've seen some prednisone being used for like swelling and stuff, but I'm sure that there are other uses for it. But anyway, obviously the attending there caught on to the two things, as well as Mr. S asking him for more prednisone, and he was promptly discharged with nothing and told to see a dermatologist. Fast forward to yesterday. This guy called my store. He's called before. He successfully asked our less attentive pharmacist for an extension of his prednisone and succeeded. I guess that's why he's calling. I pulled up his electronic record and found the ER discharge report, as well as a polypharmacy for his prednisone, as well as being a Tylenol 4 user. Tylenol 4 being Tylenol with codeine. Mr. S is just hitting all the right buttons. He launched into a story about how he's new to the city, blah blah blah. More prednisone, please. Keeping in mind he conned some other pharmacy to do it for him just over a week ago. I immediately said no. He brought up how other pharmacists at my store did it for him before. I just said, well, I'm not them, and I'm just not gonna do it. He quickly cuts the line off. Sorry if I tried to save you from getting a hole in your gut. I guess. Mr. S, best of luck with that eczema. So I'd like to point out the original poster is a pharmacist from Canada, so that's why it seemed a little weird to get an extension on a prescription, because that's probably, I don't know the laws in Canada, I just know Utah laws here in America. So that's probably a thing where they could just go to the pharmacist and get an extension on a medication, which sounds convenient to me. This story actually reminds me of a time when I had a customer that was abusing a weird medication. Typically people don't abuse prednisone, but it is a steroid, so it is potentially habit forming. But this one kid came up to the drive-thru window and wanted us to transfer his prescription for Zofran. That's right, ondansetron. Ondansetron's usually used for nausea. So it's like, okay, well, we'll transfer the prescription from X pharmacy in town. X pharmacy being that shady pharmacy that everyone has in town that lets everyone just fill whatever medication because, X pharmacy allows us to do it. How come you guys can't do it? Well, X pharmacy should probably be shut down. But anyway, everyone has a pharmacy like that, I'm sure. So we get the prescription transferred and we run the kid's insurance, and it comes back as refilled too soon. And we're like, okay, that's weird. And we go and look it up, and it's like, refill too soon was last filled a 30-day supply 5 days ago. And we're like, oh, well, that's weird. Maybe the transaction didn't get backed out. Maybe the old pharmacy still has a claim at the insurance company. So we call the insurance company, and yes, there is still a claim out for it from the previous pharmacy. So we call the previous pharmacy, just saying, hey, it doesn't look like that this claim got backed out, so the insurance still thinks that you have it ready for him. Do you want to go ahead and back out that claim? And the old pharmacy tells us, oh no, he's already picked that up. We have a sold transaction form. It's like, what? Okay. So we call the patient back up, and we just say, hey, the old pharmacy tells us that you have already picked up a 30-day supply of this nausea medication, and you want to get it again? He's like, yeah, I just need some more of it. And we're like, well, the one that he wanted was the Zofran ODT. ODT in medication terms just is a translation for is much more expensive. So he wants the expensive version of Zofran. And we tell him, hey, for like a 30-day supply of that, it's going to be like 120 tablets, something weird like that. We just tell him, you're probably not going to want it. It's going to be like $300 or something like that. I can't remember the price of it. He's like, no, I'll still get it. We're like, what? Why does someone want to spend $300 on nausea medication when he just picked up a 30-day supply a couple of days ago? Something's not adding up. And, I just say, yeah, we can get it ready for you. My pharmacist overhears this, and he said, yeah, we're not going to fill that for him. It's like, why not? And he tells us about how some people can prolong the effects of some drugs by taking Zofran with those drugs. So we assumed that that's what the kid was doing. The kid was just using Zofran to extend the effectiveness of whatever illegal drug he was using. And yeah, you can judge a book by its cover sometimes. The kid was driving a pretty beat up car. Jalopy is probably the closest term that I could use to describe this car. Like, it was one of those where it's like, oh, he doesn't have a window. It's now a plastic bag with tape around it. This guy does not have $300 extra to spend on nausea medication. So yeah, you can pretty much come to the conclusion that he was using it for drugs. We refused to fill the prescription. He said he wanted it transferred back to Shady Pharmacy, and that's where I'm assuming he's still filling it, Shady Pharmacy, right where he belongs. Thank you again for joining me on another Reddit story thing, Tales from the Pharmacy. So yeah, the Florida man video got copy stricken by, it wasn't even by one of the videos that I posted, it was an article that I was reading. So apparently with YouTube, they do the voice to chat thing and they document what you say in the video so that they can look for keywords. And apparently the keywords I was reading, they were able to link it back to an article which got copy stricken. So if I do Florida man again, it's gotta be just, I gotta realize I'm not gonna get any money out of it. And it's just gonna be me making a video for Florida man, or I gotta be a little bit more careful about making those videos. But anyway, thank you again for watching. If you liked what you saw, give me a thumbs up, share it with a friend, and subscribe if you haven't. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. So until then, later kids.